They want to know,
What do you want to know?
when you gonna do tacos?
I'm going to be doing something kind of like tacos soon. So what we're doing today is going to be a full meal of something that's a little bit interesting and different, perhaps. But we're going to be making taco sliders. It's kind of like a taco, but it's in the wrong shell. Still tastes like a taco, though. But what we're going to do is we're going to be making homemade rolls. It's going to be the base for the sliders. We're going to make up some taco meat, put it in there with cheese, some tomatoes, good stuff like that. And it's going to be served with some fries. See, we've got our raw, uncut fries here. We'll go with this in just a minute. So the idea is that we're going to make something similar to Taco Bell's nacho fries, but hopefully better. And I'm trying to think of a dessert. We might come up with a dessert near the end of the video too. First on our agenda is to work on the rolls themselves. So here in our bowl we've got I've got about 7 cups of flour measured out, but we're going to be using closer to 5 or 6. I get more flour than what I'm going to need, so I've got some to work with. I have 2 cups of warm milk. There's a measurement for this. I don't remember exactly what it is, but what I like to do is warm it until when I stick my fingers into it to check it, I think, man, that's pretty warm, but I don't burn myself, if that makes any sense. I have half a cup of white sugar, 4 teaspoons of instant yeast because I'm making a lot of dough. Got about 2 teaspoons of salt. It's going into the bowl. I have 1 stick of butter.
Hey,
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 why you take away Pave's ride? We was having fun there.
you mean on the vibrating table? Well, because I'm afraid that my table's going to fall to the floor on camera.
What happened there?
Alright, so the way that we know that our dough is ready is when you turn it on, you notice it really stays together, and as it's spinning, it pulls away from the side of the bowl. See how it's no longer sticking to the sides of the bowl? It's also very smooth and elastic. A lot of times I use flour, but I like using this for shaping rolls. I'm just going to spray my board with it and just kind of knead it around a little bit. I'm going to start out by cutting it in half, put the other half back into the bowl, shaping it into a rough log. So you're starting from the middle, rolling out towards the sides, until we get a nice long log that we're going to cut into rolls. Take my dough cutter, cut it into about an inch or so pieces. Remember, whatever size you cut it into, it's going to be about twice that much when it's cooked, so remember that. And just start moving it around in a circular motion. I'm using a counterclockwise motion. You would use clockwise if you're using your left hand, but it comes out to a really nice smooth ball. And that's why I use cooking spray. If you try this with flour, you're just going to slide it around. It's not going to shape right. We have 24 rolls in here. You can see I've got them in rows of 4, and I've sprayed it with some cooking spray first. You want to get these rolls to where they're just barely touching or just have a tiny bit of space between them. But the idea is when they cook, they're going to fill this entire space and then rise straight up. Keep things rolling right along. Let's talk about the meat. I'm going to be using 2 pounds of meat, and I'm taking a bit of a shortcut because I'm using Wampler's taco meat. This is taco seasoned pork. But you can use ground beef or ground pork, ground turkey. Season it up however you like, whether it's with a packet of taco seasoning, whatever. The only addition I'm doing here is I'm going to use about half or so of a white onion and some garlic. I don't know. Once I get into this, I'll decide how much I'm going to do.
All of it.
Probably so. This is a small head, so I might as well just go and use the whole head. This is kind of a cheater method, I'm not sure, but it lets me have a handle here in just a moment. So I take my knife, turn it almost completely horizontal, but tilt it just slightly down. Slice right through it, almost to the end, but not quite. Try to keep your fingers up on the top of the onion so it's nowhere near the path of the blade, just in case it slips out. And start making small slices all the way through to the bottom, but you want to leave just a little bit of space between your knife and the back so it holds together to the rest of it. So slice through just like that. And this is taking advantage of the fact that the onions are layered in order to get nice even cuts out of it without really having to put too much work into it. So from here, I take my fingers, curl them over, put them near where the root is connected to the skin, take my knife, and just make nice thin cuts right along, right across the onion. You can see it's coming out into already nice, fairly even pieces. Now for the garlic. I like to go ahead and slice off the root so you can get almost all of the skin off like that. You can see that each clove has a little woody bit on the end. Now you can put the garlic flat on the board, put the flat of your knife on it, and just basically slap it. Then the rest of the skin will peel away. Then we can take it and just cut it into little slices, as thin as you can get it. Now that the pan is hot, you can go ahead and start adding in the meat. Now I've got my onions and garlic. I handled raw meat, so I'm going to wash my hands and come right back. Now we just start to brown the meat. These look drastically different than they did when we first put them in. So now my oven is preheated to 375. I'm going to put those in for about 30 minutes. I've got some potatoes that I've cut into french fry shapes here. This is basically a julienne cut. And I've had them brining in garlic and salt for a while. I've drained them, and now I'm ready to fry them. Got my oil hot. I'll slowly lower them in. Alright, so the first batch of our fries are out, and I'm going to use my proprietary blend of seasonings. By that I mean it's French's taco seasoning. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on top while it's still warm. And let's talk just briefly about one more thing. Two more things. This is just some strips of excess dough, but we're going to be making some homemade sopapillas. Here's your stacks of dough. It's basically just like biscuit dough, cut into squares. We cut these and stuck them in the freezer for a bit to firm them up, but they're going to be fried. Also, to go with our fries, we've got some cheese sauce. This is basically just melted down Velveeta, some tomatoes, and I think there's some ground beef in there too. Now this is left over from yesterday. I'm going to be honest with you because it's a good way for us to use it up and make us some nacho fries, sort of. Beef, and this beef is ready to go on our rolls, which I think are just about ready. Let's take a look at that. So in theory, I'm going to be sliding this entire sheet of rolls onto my cutting board here. Pan up.
Oh.
That's separated a little bit right there, but don't worry about it. It's all good. Tell you what, let's do it like this. You ready? Flip it over. Over. I wanted it to stay together where I could slice it in one sheet, and I still think I can do that. But it's okay. We've got our rolls out, and we're all set for the next step. Now, I will show you my ninja slicing technique where I will slice them all in one fluid motion. I've already started my slice here. It was too hot a minute ago. So to be safe, because I'm just going to break it if I try to cut it all at once, I'm going to take clusters of 4. Alright, so I spared you the boring details of watching me slice all this, so now I've got all my bottoms to the rolls in here. I have some Fiesta blend cheese, some diced tomatoes, and the taco meat from earlier. Start off with a layer of cheese all across the bottoms of the rolls, all over the top of the bottom. Get it all the way to the edges. Try to make sure you got a good coating on all of them. And remember, kids, if it looks like too much, it's almost enough. And I am gonna stick to my word and not use all the taco meat this time. These rolls are sturdy. Why don't we stick to my convention of saying, let's not add them all and then add it all anyway. Instead, you know what? Let's just dump the whole thing in. That's usually how it works. Tomatoes. You can use just the store-bought canned diced tomatoes, but I just peeled and diced these earlier because I had some tomatoes I needed to get rid of anyway. So I'm just going to put a layer of that all over the top of the ground pork, which I keep wanting to call it beef. It's the first time I've used pork taco meat. Let me tell you, this stuff's really good. It's Wampler's taco meat. Are you laughing at the word wamplers?
I'm laughing at the way you're saying Wampler.
Wampler? Well, it's spelled with an A, and I've never heard anybody else say it. Now for a brief intermission. No, I'm just kidding. More cheese. More cheese. The answer to everything is always more cheese. More cheese. Coming back around with our tops. I try to arrange the tops on my cutting board in about the same way that they were when they started, so that I can get them to the closest approximation of the way they're supposed to be as I can. So now I'm going to press it down just a bit. I want to squish those nice tops, but I do want to get it somewhat contained. Make sure they all get a bit. These and put them back into the oven. I've just turned it down to 350 at this point. They only need to be in for about 5 minutes or so, just to melt the cheese, let everything come together. Okay, so what we have going on now is sopapillas. This is basically, it's just like a biscuit dough, more or less. It's flour, shortening, a little bit of milk, that's it. Rolled out really thin into squares. It's going into some very hot oil. It's only going to be in here briefly. You'll notice it almost immediately is going to start to brown. And then we'll turn it over and take it out and put it on this board we have with a paper towel. You see how it only takes just about 10 or fewer seconds. Underneath, flip it. Same thing, turn it, give it about 10 more seconds. We're going to put it right here. Before it's served, it's going to get rolled in some cinnamon sugar. And maybe drizzled with some honey, depending on who's eating. Okay, so our sliders are out of the oven. I've sort of cut them a little bit with a knife in between the spaces just to make sure that they're separated. But hey, let's pause from this for just a second and take a look at what we have here. Here are our sopapillas. We've taken them out, coated them in some cinnamon sugar, just piled them up on a plate. These are really good. We've already all had a serving of them. I just wanted you to see that. I'd like to go into more detail about that soon, but you can just see at least the idea of what you're looking for. Okay, back to the sliders. So, in theory, I should be able to get up under here with a spoon, find my bottom bun, and scoop one out. Here it comes. A little bit of that cheese. You can see the taco meat and the cheese and the tomatoes all there on the side. We've got our nacho fries here. Nacho fries in gigantic quotation marks. It's basically fries with taco seasoning, a cheese sauce, our slider, and we're pretty much ready for to eat on this, which is the good part. I think that's about all we've got on the video. If you liked it, as always, like the video, please. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing it. If you want to give me money to keep supporting me to do this crap, then support me on Patreon by going to patreon.com/thevirtualchef. And you may notice that I'm a bit sarcastic and stuff at you sometimes, but I really do appreciate you watching. If you're watching the videos, thanks a lot. Without, somebody watching it, I wouldn't have any reason to do it. So, see you next time.
Hey. Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
Chef Bay kicked me out of kitchen.
Why?
Because was trying to eat everything.
Well, that's what the kitchen is for.
I know. Can I have some now?
Yeah, of course.
Yay.
What would you like?
I'm gonna go get some.